But anyway, yeah, so steam coming from under the hood. I'm pretty sure this car just, when it gets wet, it just is so close with an aftermarket header that it's hot on the hood and it's just blowing steam, because I had this thing running for an hour yesterday while I was checking out different things. And no smoke happened. Rad caps, new. Radiator isn't cracked at the seams or anything. No leaks. I did a coolant hose recently, but not recently enough to do that. But yeah, anyway, so kind of an introduction to this car, because it hasn't been on the channel. It's a 2000 Integra. Zoom out a little bit for you. 2000 or 2001, one of the two. Integra. I've actually owned a few. I think I've owned, let's see, a blue one. I owned another silver one for a little bit. And then I had a red one, or Dad had a red one. I remember Dad's red one. It was like a dark red. Anyway, when her Forester was kind of on the fritz and about to blow up, and I thought it was about to blow up, instead of rebuilding the motor again, I was like, nope, we're done. She said she liked Integras, that she wanted an Integra, that, you know, she didn't mind an Integra, plus with my Civic, you know, she's kind of influenced a little bit by that scene now. But she's had it for over a year now. I bought it at 108,000 miles right before she got a location change for her job, and next thing you know, I think we're at like 160,000 now, just because she had an hour and a half one-way commute. But it was bone stock when I got it, minus the header. It's got a downpipe. I'm pretty sure it even still has a factory cat bolted down there. And the person before us had some really cheap coilover kit, which it was just the springs and those stupid little collars you see on eBay on blown out stock suspension. Ended up finding Yonaka coils for it the same week I bought it, because that wasn't going to happen. And then found a Yonaka exhaust for it, because the rest of the exhaust is kind of just leaking and falling off, so it's got a full exhaust on it. But if you look under the hood, other than the header, I mean, she's still stock. She's got her AC, her power steering, even's got the stock air box. So back to the point, this car's had a little bit of a misfire for a while. Did spark plugs. That was a little over a month ago. Sounded like I heard something rattling around in the head a little bit. I forgot to bring her keys out. I will make sure to start it later. You know, whatever. That happened. So still has a little bit of a misfire. Checked for vacuum leaks. Can't find any. I did pressure test the coolant, because I thought, you know, yesterday with the steam, maybe there's a leak I can't find, but it didn't do anything. Pressure stayed right where it was supposed to be. Pretty much just looked at everything I could, and everything I found that it needed has nothing to do with any type of smoke on the hood. Again, I think that's just a thing. These cars never offered an under hood liner, ever. I really think it's just a heat thing with the hood and water, and I don't know what to tell you. Her commute's now only 20 minutes though, so not really enough time to overheat if it is, but it's not. Anyway, started looking at more stuff. Definitely needs a motor mount. That motor mount is shot. Doing that trans mount that's under that whole air filter configuration while I'm here, just because it looks like it's also got some movement. I took a pry bar in there. That one's got some movement. That one definitely, I don't know how it isn't worse. I wanted to order some street mounts for it, but after ordering a bunch of stuff yesterday, which we'll get to be here today, I just went with stock mounts, especially because the suspension already makes this car run a little rougher for her, that is. So I don't want to add anything to the mix that makes it even more rough for her, if that makes any sense. But anyway, so looking at it, I was pulling out spark plugs or wires while it was running to see if any of them didn't make a difference. These three almost shut the car off. That one, it made a difference, but not much. But it definitely made one. So it's kind of like a weak spark issue. It's also the furthest away from the distributor, so it could have just been related to that. Don't know. Fuel injectors, all of them are cranking. Again, checked for vacuum leaks, nothing there. But with the weak spark there, and misfire, and the fact that I couldn't find one, pulled off the distributor cap, which I don't think I've replaced it. Someone did. I don't think it was me. It might have been me. It's loose because I left it loose last night. I just wanted to cover it back up. But as soon as I got, I'll put you this way, the cover right about here, something fell out of it. I was like, I don't know what that is, but that's a problem. But I didn't find where that went. Pulled off the cap. Inside the cap looks okay, I would say. That center doesn't look the greatest, but as you can see, there's a bunch of crap right there, which should never be in a distributor, ever. The points look okay. I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, I mean, they look good, but I'm still going to replace the cap anyway. And then I noticed that the ignition coil, there's supposed to be a spring here. That spring is basically the main point of contact for the coil. It hits that upper area, goes down to the center, and then as your rotor spins, which actually, let me grab that for you. This has a distributor with a rotor, ignition wires. Some of the newer stuff has coils. Almost all the newer Honda stuff went over to coils eventually. Sorry, the garage is a mess. I had to move the bike trailer. Dad might be using that soon. The S10, I got to get to that thing. All that mess underneath of it is because for some reason the transmission, if you drive it once, just decides to blow every bit of fluid it has out of the pan once you park it. After like 2 days, it just finally says nope and blows everything out of it. But we got to get to it. Last you saw this, me and Tommy did the body work and then got primered, and then it hasn't really moved anywhere since because a bunch of stuff happened. Again, busy stuff. My bike's got a dead battery. It's sad. It's really sad, especially because it's getting warmer. I got to get on that. Anyway, so rotor. Basically, this gets bolted onto that center piece right about there. Boop. And it spins. It's keyed, so it can't slide. That flat piece right there. It's keyed, so it's lined up with the camshaft. And then as the motor's running, this rotor spins. If you look, it's kind of fried. But anyway, as that spins, the spark from up in that hole, right there where I'm pointing almost exactly, goes to this, spin, and at every of those teeth in there, boom, sparky, sparky, electricness, electricness, sparky, sparky, boom, run. Because then it goes to the wires, goes to the spark plugs. That's what made me look in here. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit of a teaching moment, but I know we're here to show cool stuff and fun stuff, but we're also here so you can learn. Take what you can from it. Anyway, so boom, spring. That's what shot off or fell out. I don't know if it was bouncing around in there before, if it was just loose on here and then fell out. I don't know. I'm hoping the answer to my problem is that it was just loose in there somehow, but this was still arcing to there, hopefully. It's the first time I've seen that in a little bit, but it went down into nowhere land. I checked on the ground. It's not there. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere bouncing on this motor now. Anyway, take this off. Let me get a flashlight. Help you see what I see. Oop. Didn't do a video on that. We could talk about that later once I figure out the problem fully. If you remember the tip-em that we did on my Ram, that's the front control module. We're not going to talk about that yet because I don't know where that lies. Still runs and drives, obviously, it's just having stupid problems. Anyway, so inside the distributor cap, as you can see, kind of, it's not the cleanest. But there's oil in there, and you never want that. This whole encasement is stuff with electric that's supposed to produce a signal. You've actually got 3 sensors built in to this distributor. Right here on this stub, there's 3 sensors there that transmit to this guy for your crankshaft position, I believe your camshaft position. There's something else that goes in there. Ignition control module, which is always a problem in most cars. This one actually looks like it's still the factory one, which is kind of cool. As you can see, there's a bunch of oil. Kind of, as best as you can. Under the distributor, also under this cam seal, we're going to be replacing that today as well. For a little bit, causing a problem. Only leak on the engine is those 2 right there. and maybe a little bit from the oil pan. But anyway, yeah. So today we're going to be doing valve cover gasket, PCV valve, just because we're already there. Putting a new ignition coil in there because I can't find the spring, and at the mileage she's at, it's probably due at this point. New cap, new rotor. The plugs are actually the wires are fairly recent, so no need to replace those. Gonna do an air filter. Oil change was very recently done, so we don't need to do that. But the main reason we need to get in this valve cover is, like I said, I think I've been hearing a rattling in there, and once we get this off, I'll show you a little bit more as to why. No matter what, your car has a top end. Those top ends consist of valves, springs, rockers to the camshaft. Older cars, you've got your push rods, stuff like that. This is valve springs and valves, rockers, the whole nine. I think the adjustment has gone loose, which, fun story. Not really even story, just a fun fact. Back before I was born, back in the day, maybe even while I was born, but just very young, your manual in your car used to tell you how to adjust valves and when to adjust valves. It was part of a normal maintenance routine that you would do at home, just like your oil change, just like your gaskets, just like your air filters and all that stuff. But yeah, in your manual, I'll check this manual, see if it tells you. I don't think it does. But used to tell you how to do that. You were trusted enough to take this off and do that. Hopefully people watching this channel are either learning how to do that or already know how to do that. And either way, if you are one of those, you will understand what I'm saying. Now, if you look in your manual, it tells you not to digest the contents of your battery. Nothing about anything like that. Nothing about anything like that. Nothing about coolant. Nothing. Nope. Just gives you fluid capacities, maybe, type of oil that it takes, and don't stab a hole in your battery and drink what's inside of it. You don't believe me? Check your manual. And then find someone with an old car that happens to sell the manual. Check the manual there. It does not tell you not to drink that. It tells you how to adjust your valves and your lash and everything else like that. But anyway, I'm going to get to work here a little bit. I don't know if there's going to be one video, and then Dad's going to do a part 2 video. I don't even think he knows I'm making him a video today, which will be a nice surprise for him. Get something up on the channel since it's been a little bit since I've been able to help. We will be looking at that at some point. I don't know if I'm going to have time today, but I'm pretty sure something in that front suspension that we did has gone awry. I think it's a little bit loose on the passenger side. I think maybe a control arm. It's got those stupid adjustable uppers, so I can control the camber. Pretty sure that passenger side is loose. We'll get to that either today or another day, probably another day, but I'll make sure we do a video on that. Like I said, I'm going to get to work here. We're still waiting on parts. I just want to get stuff taken apart a while. Really, I want to check under this valve cover today, which I'll bring it back for as soon as I do. Like I said, don't know if it's going to be one part and then it's two part, or if he's just going to mesh these together for one really long video. Up to him. But yeah, I'm going to get this apart. I'm going to bring you guys back. Hey guys, back with you on the Integra. I'm going to be honest with you. I ended up having to drive around for 2 hours to pick up parts because there was one that I forgot to order and had to go a little bit further away than I anticipated to go get it. So I kind of just got back and went with the flow. But this is where we are. Yeah, a bunch of tools in the way. But anyway, yeah, so again, I'm so sorry. I kind of just got back and went with the flow because I kind of was rushing a little bit. We've pretty much got everything back together. I did have the valve cover off, did a full valve adjustment. One day I have to do that to the Civic anyway, so I'll be able to take a video of that actually happening for you guys, and I'll make sure not to forget. But to kind of run down what we did valve cover gasket, spark plug tube seals, which the person before who worked on it, instead of putting tube seals in the valve cover, they just sat them on top of the tubes, so that explains why that one was leaking. We've got a new PCV valve. Still got to get a new air filter. That was supposed to deliver where I was picking up all the other parts, but it had not yet, so that'll hopefully be here this afternoon. Well, at this point this evening. Did that. Did motor mount, trans mount. Cleaned off right here to look for leaks because I also did the cam seal, distributor O-ring, distributor cap, new ignition coil, and rotor. That's it. Yep. The rotor. I got in the car, cleared the codes because we had a misfire code from when I was pulling off spark plugs wires to see if the misfire changed beforehand, but haven't started yet. Literally just cleared the codes and was like, oh, come with me, let's get it started up, see if she's still gonna misfire. She's super cold, obviously. We had codes before. Can't find my scanner, so I'm borrowing Dad's. A few of which were a 2 sensor. Those will probably come back, but as it stands, we have no light. And look at that. So she started. She's got to kind of warm up for that idle to die down. But we're running. There is a noise somewhere in there. Sorry if it's a little loud. Let me get back further here. Yes, there is still a noise in there. I think I know what it is now. While I was in the valve cover, the timing belt starting to get a little dry, which means the tensioner is probably the OEM tensioner. So it might be that spring tensioner kind of happening. So we're going to end up tearing this all back down at some point to do a timing belt and a tensioner and probably a water pump at the same time. But other than that, she's running. She's going to be smoking off a little stuff from oil that I cleaned up from what I sprayed, especially once she gets the temperature. So I'm just going to sit here, have it running, kind of watch everything, make sure we're all good, and I'll bring you guys back. Hey guys, here we are. She got all warmed up. We're test driving her now, just to kind of burn off all the stuff and try and see if I can find this smoke, since it's a little rainy outside, that she's talking about at the hood. Because again, I really think it's just burning off of the hood, or evaporating, I'm sorry, because that valve cover in this motor is really, really close. Check engine light's still out, which is good. Means we don't have any misfires. Like I said, I know it will come back on because of the O2 sensors. I've already replaced the sensor. That didn't fix the issue. Like I said, I can't remember if this thing has a cat or not. But I'm pretty sure I used to think about having to put one of those defowlers in there, just kind of space it out, because this is a stock ECU. Can't just eliminate them. But yeah, we're just test driving. Car's running great, which means we're all good, considering. But yeah, so only thing we haven't done today is that air filter, which was definitely a little dirty, but we're not overheating. Fans are cutting on when they should. Everything's going as it should be expected. But yeah, so thanks for watching this video. It was nice to kind of just get back and work again. Today would have been a normal day off after a pretty rigorous work schedule for the past month and a half, 2 months almost. Very rigorous. But yeah, so we're all good. Again, thanks for watching the channel. Keep watching. Please like, subscribe, and if you like this kind of content, where we try to teach you a couple things but also just work on cars, please share it with people. We're still trying to get subscriber goals and everything, so just kind of keep supporting us that way. And again, when I do the valve adjustment on the turboed Civic, I will make sure to film some of that actually inside and not be rushing through it. I didn't rush through this valve adjustment. I didn't plan on spending 2 hours running around grabbing parts that should have been at one location. But yeah, otherwise, this has been Ronnie with RTR Gearheads and Auto Inc. Thanks again. We'll catch you later.